Well, hey, Journeys Crossing kids team, JC Kids team. This is Jeff, and if you watched the first part of this video series, you know that we had a meeting last weekend. It was last Saturday, and some of us could be there. Almost half of us could be there. A lot of us had conflicts with that, and so what I wanted to do was record that meeting and make it available, make sections of it available for you. And the technology, we used some new technology to record it. It made this enormous 32 gig file, which was, not really possible to do that with. So I'm recording some snippets of what we shared last Saturday. So first of all, if you have not gone back and watched the first part of the video segment, I've linked it in the email that I'm sending you. Go back and watch that. It was all about celebrating the great things that God is doing through JC Kids. And that is, I think, an important place for us to start. It's just to recognize that God is on the move, and He is doing some incredible things through this church, through this team of us together, through this ministry. So I said 10 minutes. I lied. It was 15 minutes. Take 15 minutes, watch that, and celebrate what God is doing. Now I want to focus on a different part, or kind of the next topic of the meeting, and that is mission, why we do, what we're all about at JC Kids. That's a really passionate topic for me. I'm actually speaking a little bit on this at a large children's pastors conference in Orlando in a couple of months in January. How to lead with mission in mind. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Because there's a whole lot of things that we could be doing in children's ministry. There are all kinds of things out there for churches to do, parachurch ministries, curriculum choices. How does our Sunday mornings look? Does midweek stuff look? How does all of this stuff look? And if we're not careful, we could do all kinds of different things that could even compete with our mission. And so we want to make sure that we understand why we do what we do. We want to have a good mission. I've been reading this book right here, The Unstuck Church by Tony Morgan, really influential book and an influential person to a number of us here on staff. And he defines a mission statement as a concise phrase, mantra, or slogan that captures the heartbeat of what your church is all about. So that's what we want to do. We want to understand what is our heartbeat at Journeys Crossing. And he says one of the great things about having a clear mission statement is that it defines why the church exists. It makes it clear whether people should join your mission or not. Because some people are going to hear a mission statement and say, wow, that sounds exciting, I can't wait. And others are going to go, eh. And I want us all to be able to understand that too. Is this mission that we have at JC Kids for you as a member of the team? So let's start with Journeys Crossing. We have a very clear mission statement. It is that we exist to meet people right where they are and help them on their journey back to God. And we really mean right where they are. So we have people in our congregation who grew up not knowing God at all, who grew up in Muslim households, who grew up in Jehovah's Witnesses households, who grew up in with atheists, who grew up in the church but abandoned it early, who grew up and prayed as a kid to accept Jesus and have never really strayed from the path, and everywhere in between. And our mission at Journeys Crossing is to meet people no matter where they are, right where they are, and help them on their journey back to God. And we really do say that it's those folks who are not on that journey yet, that's our focus. So if you're someone who doesn't want to meet people right where they are, who doesn't want to meet people who don't know Jesus already, Journeys Crossing might not be the place for you. I'm not trying to throw anyone out of the church, but that's what we're here to do. That's what we exist to do. We exist to meet people right where they are. And as a children's ministry, we believe it's our mission to come right alongside that. And I'll share our mission statement. If you don't quite know it yet, I'll share what that's all about in just a second. But as a ministry of Journeys Crossing, we've got to figure out how do we come along that statement of meeting people right where they are and helping them on their journey back towards God, towards Jesus. I read some of this at the meeting, and I won't read all of it to you here on video. That would be fairly boring to watch me read from a book on video. But I've got this book right here. It's called If You Only Knew. Really short book. Look how thin that little thing is. Written by David Waverley. He's the children's pastor for Hillsong Church in Sydney, Australia. If you don't know Hillsong, I'm sure you've heard some of their songs. I'm sure you've been influenced by them in some way. It is, I think, probably the biggest church movement on the planet right now. A lot of the songs we sing on Sunday morning in the auditorium and in kids' church were written by these guys. And we actually use their curriculum a little bit in kids' church. So if you've been serving in kids' church for maybe a year or so, you'd probably recognize this guy from some of our videos that we used in kids' church, like I said, about a year or so ago. He tells a story in here about how he went with his son to go visit his parents. So he left Sydney, and his parents run an orphanage in northwest India. And he realized really quickly that this was not Australia he was in anymore. It was a whole new culture. And he says here, I was an immigrant in a new culture. And then he takes that and says, that is, that's really what being a children's person is all about. He says that we are immigrants into an unknown culture, the culture of kids. And I love what he says here. He says, you are not here to bring Jesus to your group of kids. You are here to seek out and discover exactly what God is already doing in their lives and join with him in this ministry. And that really is what we are all about doing. We are immigrants. We are immigrants to a group of kids. We want to meet them right where they are, and we want to partner with God in what he's already doing in their lives. You know, he says that the most effective missionaries learn the language, the culture, and build bridges. They don't come in and impose their own values and ideas upon unsuspecting people. And unfortunately in the church, we don't always have a great track record in that. We can look at how we were missionaries to Native Americans here in our own nation and say, wow, we really did come upon these unsuspecting people and impose our values on them. We rounded kids up. We put them in very European-looking schools. We gave them European-looking haircuts. We gave them European-looking clothes. And we said, abandon your culture, and here's the kind of white European Christian culture that you need to be a part of now. That's not what we want to do with kids. We don't want to impose our own adult culture on kids and say that's what Christianity is all about. We want to meet them where they are and partner with God in what he is already doing. We really are missionaries. It's why we choose the music that we choose. One of the churches, actually the last church I was at, they didn't quite get this concept. And they really did want to impose what adult Christianity looked like on kids. And a lot of them had lots of fond memories back in the days where people sang campy kind of songs with kids. And that was an insistence by a number of people on the team, is that we can't, we have to sing There's Peace Like a River. And some of these kind of camp songs with kids. Now, if you love Peace Like a River, and you have great memories of singing that with a kid, that's great. And if you want to sing it with your kids at home, that's great. It's not going to be the most effective way to meet the kids that we're seeing in this culture right now. And so we're not going to do that at Journeys Crossing. And that's one of the things that our mission statement really helps define is what we do and what we don't do. If we want to meet kids where they are, we're not going to take songs from the 40s and 50s and say, this is how you follow Jesus. We're going to meet them where they are. We're going to use songs that they like. We're going to use technology that they like. And we're not going to come in with the attitude that we're there to fix them or kind of cram Jesus at them. We know that Jesus is already on the move, and we want to just come alongside and partner with him and be faithful in what we're doing, but also let the Holy Spirit be faithful in what he's doing as well. And so we have a mission statement in JC Kids that really partners, it really describes what our role is in bringing Journeys Crossing's mission about. So we meet kids and families right where they are. As Journeys Crossing, we meet people, and the people that we're talking about in JC Kids are kids and their families, their parents, or whoever it is that brings them. Maybe it's auntie that brings them, grandma that brings them. We're there to meet their kids and families right where they are and help them grow closer together and help them on their way back to God. We think that a real key to them, to kids on their journey back to God, is those families growing closer and closer together. We see right now in an age where families are just splintering, we say, if we want kids to get on a journey back to God, we need to grow these families closer together. So that's a part of our mission. So we meet kids and families right where they are and help them grow closer together and grow back to God. That's what we are all about at JC Kids. And that's going to determine what we do and what we don't do. I had a great reminder about this important of meeting kids where they are. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a girl who was visiting Journey's Crossing for the first time, and she came up to me after a kids' church service, grinning. I mean, she was excited that she had experienced what she had experienced that day, and she said to me in total honesty, I never knew this church thing existed before today. And I was just blown away. It's so hard for me to remember, and I bet it's hard for a lot of us to remember, that we take for granted that church is a thing and that Journey's Crossing is a thing. And so an exciting, vibrant, great church to be a part of is a thing. For so many kids in our community, they don't even know that church is a thing. I mean, think about it. Drive around Germantown. How many churches do you pass? Not a whole lot. I mean, a lot of the churches are meeting in movie theaters and the Black Rock Center and all kinds of places. There aren't a whole lot of church buildings. And the numbers in our community would suggest that there's not a whole lot of Jesus followers in our community. So kids could go to school all day and maybe not meet someone they know as a Christian. They could drive around town and not see a whole lot of churches and not really understand that this whole thing exists. This girl had an awakening that this church thing existed, and she liked it and she wanted more of it. And that is what we are all about at Journey's Crossing and at JC Kids. So I'll wrap this part of the video up. Like I said, if you haven't gone back and taken a look at some of the celebration that I talked about in my last video, go back and look at that. You're going to want to hear some of the great things happening, hear some of the stories of what's going on, and just praise God for the great things he's doing. I've got a couple more of these that I'm going to be taping. I'll do those next week. I'll let the air clear here over the weekend. We're going to talk about how do we accomplish the mission that we just talked about of meeting kids where they are and helping them on their way back to God. And then we're going to talk about some things that are going to be coming up in the future. And one of them is really exciting. I can't wait to describe it to you. So for now, I'm so glad that you are a part of the team. I hope when you hear that mission statement, it energizes you and says, yes, this is the mission that I want to be about. And if you hear it and you say, I don't think this is for me, let's talk to and let's figure out what's happening and what's the best way to get you plugged in. So I will, if I don't see you Sunday, I'll see you on a video next week. Bye-bye, guys.